our annual exciting State of the Community event. We have leadership from various organizations in the community that will be providing progress updates and kind of what's going on with their organizations and entities. Always a great time to kind of hear from them on an annual basis. So thank you for coming out today as well. Really appreciate you being here. And so what we'll do is, I'm going to introduce our guests in the order that they will be presenting today. And then they will all present for about 10 to 15 minutes. Ashlyn Schreiner, our Marketing and Communications Coordinator, has the 2-minute warning for everybody, so you know. We kind of have a hard stop about 9:30. So after each presentation, we'll take a question or two from each presenter. But please kind of recognize from a time perspective, 1 or 2 questions. And then if there's time at the end, we could just kind of open it up for questions from the audience as well. So I think that's kind of the format for the day. So I'd like to get going in the interest of time. So our panelists today, we have 5 panelists. And our first panelist will be City Manager Mark Roloff from the City of Oshkosh. Mark, thanks for being here. Good. Our second panelist is Dr. Andrew Levitt, Chancellor of UW Oshkosh. Andy, thanks for being here. Our third panelist will be Dr. Chris Matheny, President of Fox Valley Technical College. Thanks, Chris. Our fourth panelist will be Dr. Brian Davis, Superintendent of the Oshkosh Area School District. Thanks for being here, Brian. And our final panelist, last but never not least, is Ethan Hollenberger. He's Assistant to County Executive John Damel. Thanks for being here, Ethan. So with that, we will get started. Our first panelist will be Mark Roloff. So Mark, it's yours.
Rob likes to tease me because last year I was the last speaker and I stood up at 9:27 for a 9:30 departure. So I'm going to go 45 minutes for everybody else. So okay. So just it's a little bit of a forecast. I'm a little hesitant to say some of these things because we're actually releasing our 2024 State of the City a week from today. So I have to hold back just a little bit. But if I give you a few little sneak previews, just, embargo it for a week. Okay, Justin, I think Justin from the Northwestern's here. So just a week, Justin. Yeah, right. It'll be online this afternoon. So couple things I want to talk about. The 2024 budget was something that I typically do just to give an overview and give you a little indication of where we are and then how we're impacted by the state, which many of my colleagues here are in the same boat, we're just different parts of the boat. We had a 3.4% increase in general fund expenditures. And one of the reasons I like to point that out is to contrast that with our levy increase, which was still just under 4%. So our levy increase is still higher than our expenditure increase. And that's because not all the sources of revenue that we get are very reliable or consistent. Number one revenue, of course, is the property tax. The second most important revenue, the second largest revenue, is actually from the state of Wisconsin. It's called state shared revenue. And you probably heard a lot about, there was some great shared revenue reform, but I like to put that in perspective. We got a $2 million increase, which sounds really good, and it really was, because the timing was perfect, because there were so many other revenues that were flat or going down. Meanwhile, expenditures with inflation, getting people to hire, very competitive atmosphere for that. So the state shared revenue went up about $2 million, which gets us back to exactly what the state was giving us in 1993. So we're really just catching up after 30 years. That's how much state shared revenue had not been shared. And I know my colleagues can have a similar story with their situations. One of the other things, and I love all of our public institutions in town, particularly the state institutions. In fact, we are the third largest state-owned property in the state, after Milwaukee and Madison. Excuse me, but one of the problems is that the state has this program called the Municipal Services Payment Program, which is supposed to reimburse the city based on the value of properties that are owned by the state. And it's not just the university. Of course, the university is a great institution, but we have the prison, the Resource Center, Winnebago Mental Health Institute. We are a large holder of state property. The state is supposed to fund this program, and they're funding at about 40 cents on the dollar, and that was an increase over the previous year. We should be getting about $2 million more from the state if they were truly funding this program the way it should be. And that is specifically to fund police and fire for state-owned properties. We do respond to those other properties, so be aware of that. Salary increases, we got to remain competitive for talent. I'm speaking to the choir here on that one. We're all struggling with that. Capital Improvement Program, lots of projects. I'm not necessarily going to read all of them. I just encourage you to look at them. A lot of street projects, of course, are the big emphasis this year. I'll point out Iowa, Michigan, 5th and 7th, and people say, why that one? Because that is essentially Stringham Creek. Stringham Creek does exist. It starts on the southwest part of the city and flows to the Fox River, and it makes its way, it snakes its way through the city once it gets past South Park. So we need to upgrade still that storm sewer there. If you see 9th and Ohio, any of the flooding that's occurred in recent years, that is Stringham Creek right there. So that is a very important project from a stormwater standpoint as well. Menominee Park Road reconstruction, I would love to tell you that that is doing great, but it is still on hold while the state of Wisconsin reviews the conditions of the Native American artifacts that we found underneath the road. It's going to delay it because they have to meticulously go through that road before we can repave it. So that's going to take some time. My hope, and it's still just a hope, that it's ready by 4th of July. So, but we are required to follow those things, and we're very meticulously going through that. But you can see a couple of the other projects we've got going on. Rural 2 Basin is another part, southwest part of the city. That Sawyer Creek is our largest watershed. We got to work on that. Some of our public facilities, which is something that council gave us some authorization to begin working on. Over on Sawyer Street, the old National Guard Armory, that's going to become a fire training center, and that will enable us to get a lot of training done. We're blessed with the facility at Fox Valley Tech. It's great for the entire region, but there's a lot of training we need to get done right here in town, and then our folks don't have to go away. If they're going through training and something comes up, they can't respond if they're up in Appleton. This way they can respond for general daily type of training type of things. The Grand Opera House renovation, we've got a very ambitious plan, and we're partnering with the foundation at the Grand Opera House to, they're gonna raise $3 million. Watch your checkbooks, everybody, they're coming to see you. But it's doing, consolidating everything for the Grand, and then updating a few things. You recall we did the roof project back in 2010. That was kind of done on a have-to basis. This is more of a planning, and we're working very closely with the board on that. And everything we do with our capital improvement program, it comes down to debt management, and how we can do projects is based on our ability to borrow. So we're probably in a better position to borrow than some of my other colleagues. They have to get voter approval. I don't need voter approval, but I also need to make sure that we're managing our debt so that our levy doesn't go up too much. And part of the reason that 3.99% was partially to take care of debt management for a lot of these projects. And obviously, public facilities are an increasing thing. Eventually, I would like to see the City Hall renovated. We are still dealing with the old Oshkosh West, or the Oshkosh High School. And it's a 60-year-old building since we took it over 60 years ago. So, and it was 50 years before that. So realize that that is an old building and it does need some updating and renovation. Development update, which I know is a lot of what the business community is mostly interested in. The Oshkosh Avenue corridor is doing great. You see the True Hotel going up. The other hotel, the Town Place Suites, is doing very well. And just there's a lot of activity along the Oshkosh Avenue corridor. And the reason I bring that up is we actually created 2 tax increment districts when Oshkosh Corporation was created. One just for Oshkosh Corporation and one for the rest of the area. That TIF is doing very well, and it is my goal to have the Sawyer and Oshkosh Avenue intersection redone with the proceeds from that. Unlike some of these other projects, we'll practically be able to pay for that with cash by the time the project is ready to go. So look for that. I'm really excited about that, and no, it will not be a roundabout, okay? So you can see some of the other projects we have going on. The council just approved last week the final, or the specific plan for the Butamore multifamily project. You know that was a lot of controversy, but you all know that bringing people into our community, workforce, is getting housing for those folks. And we are in desperate need. We all are in desperate need, this entire region, and frankly, the country. We need this in our country. And if we don't address housing for the entire continuum, from homelessness all the way up to luxury housing, we're not going to be competitive. So that's something that we have to do. So residential development is going to continue to be a focus. And we're excited about some of those things. We're collaborating with Habitat for Humanity for redevelopment of the Washington school site. I hope I didn't take away any of Brian's thunder, but the collaboration between Habitat and the school district is very, very positive. And we're looking to see a development of about 19 homes on the former Washington school site. We haven't bought the property yet, but we're agreement in principle on how that's going to go. And you can see the sawdust plan. We're excited. You know, we know that the arena has some issues that we're working as best we can with those. We still have a tax increment district there that's still funding that project as well. And we're going to continue to work with people involved in that to make sure the arena is successful. And I see Steve Brandis in the back. You know, the HERD is a great organization, a great institution in the city, and we want to make sure that they're taken care of as well. So you can see some of the other ones next week. ThedaCare is going to be having the groundbreaking for their new micro hospital. We're excited to work with them on that, and we've reached some tentative agreements on how we're going to function their TIF, their tax increment financing incentive there. So again, State of the City is next week. It'll be revealed there on Oshkosh Media, our YouTube channel, GovTV, et cetera, at 6:30 p.m. next Wednesday. So I gave you a little hint of some of those things. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention that the council did address special assessments that has been going on, I think, since Mr. Tower was mayor 10 years ago. That is an issue that I think there was general agreement on getting a solution, but what the solution was going to be was really the issue. They knew they wanted to eliminate road special assessments because of the cost that was going on. So they've come up with a solution, a combination of vehicle registration fee and a slight increase in utility rates that you're going to see. And I think that's something that is needed because, again, housing affordability is an issue, and people buying homes, particularly in the central part of the city, when they assume a special assessment on top of the mortgage, that's become a challenge. So that's something that council just recently did in the last couple of weeks and didn't make it into my slide deck. So that's really all I have, and I got it under. I didn't even get the 2-minute warning. So, and I did that purposely so my colleagues could have some time to talk. But Rob, you want to do questions now, or?
Yeah, there's a question or two right now. We could do that.
Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. We've come a long way with reducing our bonded indebtedness in the last 2 years. We used to be up here, now it's more of a state level. My question is, how is our current interest rates that we have today that the Fed's setting up, how's that affecting our bonded indebtedness and our ability to lower it?
Yeah, the cost of borrowing for all of us, has gone up considerably, but we still get some very favorable rates. We just borrowed at about 4%, but 3 years ago, we were borrowing at 2% and in some cases under 2%. So our cost has gone up, but that's part of our debt management is to make sure that you try to keep your debt payments as level as possible. That minimizes the impact. I know the school district is doing that because Dr. Davis and I talk about this constantly, because we know that even though we're independent agencies, you're paying the bill for the schools, you're paying the bill for the city, the county, the schools. We know that we have to manage that. So we're keeping an eye on that. We're looking at some other ways to be more flexible. The state is actually looking at changing the way some indebtedness can be incurred, and we might be able to do more notes, even for 20 years, which might give us some better borrowing rates as well. So we're looking at the different options that are available to us there. Is that good?
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Tom?
Quick update on ARPA funding. Do you still have monies left, or have you allocated everything?
We are close to having allocated our infrastructure portion. The council made by policy 3/4 of the funds were going to infrastructure, 1/4 to non-infrastructure. We have about $600,000 of the infrastructure part remaining, and that will be taken care of by the end of the year. Meanwhile, the non-infrastructure part, the council's only allocated about half of that. Council authorized me to do another round of applications, and I think we'll be okay in terms of using it because we have about $2.3 million left, and we had $12 million in requests. So I know you were on the county's Spirit Fund Commission, so yeah, you know what fund I'm in for in the next couple of weeks.
Is the application deadline passed for ARPA funds?
Yes, the idea was that I was going to be able to take this nice big binder with me on vacation last week. So the deadline was March 1st. So yeah, I had some interesting reading over vacation. And, you know, we can, to the degree there's questions afterwards, I'm happy to stick around and answer them as well. And we're on schedule. Remember that,
Thank you,
Rob.
Mark.
Thank you.
You know, you promised and you delivered. You delivered, thanks. So thanks again, Mark, thanks for that. We'll have an opportunity at the end as well for questions. Now I'd like to welcome Dr. Andy Levitt to the stage from UW Oshkosh.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, good morning, everyone. I will keep my own time here. I'm sure you'll keep it as well. Just wanted to put out there that we cheerfully paid $1.5 million in street assessments for the work around the university. We're fixing Algoma. We've considered that to be wise money spent because it's no longer a ball joint tester for your automobile. So we definitely believe in the street improvements that need to occur, and at the same time know it's tricky to pay for. And we're very satisfied with the work that was done. I just want to put that out to Mark. So, absolutely. Well, interesting times in higher education, probably no more than here at UW Oshkosh. We're obviously experiencing a pretty radical transformation in higher ed across the country, and certainly across the state. There is sort of three things driving it. There would be, do I have a PowerPoint? Yeah. Oh, okay, right there. Oh, that's me. Okay, all right. There's three things that are driving it. First, there's the demographics here in the state of Wisconsin, that we have fewer young people today than we did previously. The number one fastest growing demographic in this state is people 80 and above. So we have an issue with young people. We need to make more. It takes 19 years to make an 18-year-old, by the way. So we need to work on that, or import in, which is something that we're doing very much so. Did I erase it?
No.
Okay. So what I would also tell you, the next thing I would say is also the participation rate that right now is way down across the country, and young people simply aren't going to college, and I would argue they're not really going to any college. I think there are also pressures of enrollment on the tech colleges, community colleges, four-year colleges. When I came here 10 years ago, 1 out of every 3 high school graduates in the state of Wisconsin went to a UW. That number is now 1 out of every 5. And it's a smaller number. And then finally, probably the biggest thing that we have confronting us is that the general perception that there's a decline in the value of an undergraduate degree, 4-year degree, which is a national issue. But a lot of folks just simply say college isn't worth it. You get a lot of debt. You end up with a major. A worthless major. You can't get a job. And so those are the sort of the things that are facing us as we move forward. So this morning what I wanted to do was actually sort of counteract that and show you the good things that are happening coming out of UW Oshkosh in the form of something we call a blank screen. It's actually our First Destinations report. We do it every year. We've done it for many years. It's run out of our Office for Career Services. They do a wonderful job. They have a very high reporting rate. They go out and talk to 95% of our graduating seniors. And they ask questions like, what are you doing next? How much are you getting paid? Where do you think you'll live? All those kinds of things. And so it puts together a very nice picture as to what our graduates are doing. So this is sort of the overview. I understand that this information is 2 years old. We're just now releasing last year's data, because it does take a while to kind of crunch this here. But in the 21-22 school year, let's see if I got a button here. There it is. We graduated 1,672 baccalaureate degrees at UW-Oshkosh. Regardless of whatever enrollment challenges we might have, we're still a big, powerful institution. We're still the third largest in the state, certainly when you add in our dual enrollment, which is counted by the UW system. This is not including graduate schools. Students, you can add another 300. So we graduate about 2,000 students a year between the two commencements. So 1,672, 95% of them reported on what they were doing next, which is an astounding rate for this kind of a survey. We have what we call an 89% career outcome rate. So basically, 89% of the students who are graduating know what they're doing next in a very, very positive way. And this is the average starting salary, $54,395 of all of our graduates when you average it together. Some degrees, of course, are producing graduates, they make more, and some produce less. Regrettably, teachers are less. And that's something that I think we need to work on as a society, is we need to pay teachers a hell of a lot more than they're making now. So I hope that works for you, Brian. Yeah. All right. I'm going to see if I can touch every one of these guys. All right. This just shows average salary over time, and it actually, you in the business community know this, that the wages are increasing, right, over time. And so you can see what the average is, but you can see what we've done from year to year for the last decade or so. And so it's really spiked up this last year. It went up almost $5,000 in a single year. And of course, wages have inflation. Inflation is another big pressure against higher education in general when it comes to budgeting. This is something we threw in just to show what it is compared to CPI. So all that it shows is that the raises that you have been giving in order to attract talent are falling along the lines of inflation, really. So they're not, we're grateful, but at the same time, the people aren't really getting ahead, if you will. Job sources, this is how people find jobs at UW-Oshkosh. Again, a wonderful career services office run by Jamie Page Statler, who many of you know. We run the largest career fair in the state of Wisconsin, on the career fair on the Fox, which happens every year, which is fantastic. We have college students that come in from all over the valley that come in for it, and we have hundreds of companies that are part of that. So if you're a part of that, thank you for doing that. You can see here how students find jobs. About a third of them following through just good old-fashioned job postings and online searching. And you can see how that goes down. Networking, this is very important. We certainly emphasize networking skills in a general skills class that many, or all the people in the College of Business, but many other graduates take. How do you dress? How do you show up to work on time? How do you do those kinds of things? Basic work skills. We do actually teach that kind of information. Internships are very important. This is really the great advantage that the UW-Oshkosh has over other UWs in the system, is that we are in an incredibly rich economic region. You name the industry and it's here. You name the sector and it's here. And you are all very generous in taking on interns. As a matter of fact, all four of our colleges, three of our four colleges require an internship to graduate. The fourth college, it's letters and science, and so it really depends on the topic. You can see down here, Handshake, some of them, that's either a blessing or a curse. For many of you, this is the software that we use, of course, to put for students to go out and find jobs, and you can see how it goes down. The top industries that we provide students to, healthcare, number one, 27%. Our graduates are heading into healthcare. Education, it's a big one. We still, at our roots and in our DNA, we're still a normal school. This is why we exist, is to produce teachers for the region. Manufacturing is a big area. The university is now really heading headlong into engineering. We've added 2 full engineering programs in the last 2 years. Biomedical, along with automation engineering, which is going to be really important for the manufacturing sector of this region. Service and management, and then of course arts, media, and technology. Our students get jobs. They can be philosophy majors and they get jobs. They can be English majors and they get jobs. They can be whatever major it is, they're getting jobs. And that's just something that you need to understand, that there is no worthless degree simply because it's a 4-year degree where you are, the basis of that degree, of course, is a good liberal education in the sense that you learn how to critically think, you learn how to problem solve, you learn how to work with people, you learn all sorts of different soft skills, as we call them, which employers want. They absolutely want those because they need employees who are going to be flexible in that way. These are the top employers for this class, and you can recognize all of the logos that are in there, which is very important. I'm happy to say that we do hire a fair number of our own graduates. They're called Titans ×2. They are both college graduates as well as they work there. Lynn Clayman is a Titan ×2 right here. So we're very, very pleased by that. But you can see the breadth and scope of the people that hire our workers. We've had Deloitte on campus. The UW system has wow, that went fast. UW system has hired Deloitte to come in and evaluate each university. You'll see that in Karen's newspaper, and most likely in April, as those reports are published on how the various UWs are doing. We've got a great story to tell because we went through something very difficult in the fall, with a very, very large budget deficit. But it's amazing how much of that budget deficit we managed to erase $15 million of the budget deficit in 4 months. And so we have moved in lightning speed, when I'd like to say respectfully that we have, higher ed has the same change cycle of the Catholic Church. It's about 500 years before things change. So I really like the way that we've moved fast. Where do they live? The top 10 cities of our graduates, you can see Oshkosh is number 1. And you can see there in the Fox Valley, Milwaukee, Neenah, that's me. Give me the 2-minute warning when you can. Green Bay, you can see that here's the top counties where our graduates live here. 84.7% are working, continuing. That's part of that number here. We're actually a little bit closer to 90 now. The 9 out of 10 graduates have that. 89% of our Wisconsin residents remain in Wisconsin after graduating. There is no brain drain here. This is one of the reasons why you like to hire our students, is because they are from here and they want to stay here. And they make very, very good employees in that way. This is astounding. 44% of our non-resident students remain in Wisconsin after graduating. We are by far the largest driver of young talent importing into the state for this part of the country. They're all coming from Chicagoland for the most part. And we got almost half of them stay. That's because of those internships. That's because they get boyfriends and girlfriends. That's because they get married. That's because they want to start families, and they really like the quality of life in this area. And also, quite frankly, the cost of living is so much lower here than in many other places. So this just shows what we've done over time. It's been pretty consistent with the in-state students in terms of staying. And then you can see here, we have a recent uptick, and it's going to continue to grow on the out-of-state people remaining here. We are undergoing something right now which is just astounding. We did a really tough financial thing in the fall. At the same time, we're engaged in radically reorganizing the academic structure of the university. The Faculty Senate just voted last night to put it on a ballot for the faculty to vote on. There's 2 different models that you're going to see here. This is Model A that they're going to choose between. We're going to eliminate the department structure, create 6 schools under 3 colleges. And that's going to save us about $2.5 million of administrative costs, just because we're not paying all these department chairs. And so that's one thing that we hear loud and clear. We need to eliminate administrators, which by far the biggest group of people that we laid off this last fall were administrators in that way. So it was a tough thing. So that's Model A, and you just need to know that it's 3 colleges, 6 schools, and here's another one here. We have 3 colleges and 8 schools. Not quite the savings we would like, but the faculty will have input as to which structure we go to that we'll be implementing next year. So with that, I'll end my time. Hopefully I'm early. Yes, thank you. I'm in the back.
Tracy Ogden.
Yep.
Boys and Girls Club. Not a question, just a comment. For those of you who don't know, we employ about 127 to run the Boys and Girls Club. We've got 16 sites. 100 of those are your kids.
Right.
And I will tell you, it is such a blessing to have you in, to have UW Oshkosh in the community. I have talked to my colleagues across the country who have staffing challenges and are closing sites because they can't get enough employers. We have never had, I am afraid to even say this out loud, that we have never had this issue because we have your interns and
Yeah.
we have your college kids that come work for us, and we are grateful for that.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what I wanted to project this morning, that yes, we're going through an incredible transformation as an institution. Yes, I'm in Karen's paper a lot. I'm in the Northwestern as well. I'm in the, it's like being in the post office. But at the same time, we're making necessary changes to make sure we're around for another 153 years. That's what we're doing. And so this is a very large and it's a very powerful institution, and it is definitely making a difference in this community, in this region. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Yeah, I can attest to at the Oshkosh Chamber, we have many employees that are UWO grads. In fact, some of our employees are from out of state that stayed in Oshkosh that are UWO grads, so it actually works. So thanks again. All right, now we'd like to move on to another large educational entity in the community, Fox Valley Technical College. I would like to introduce Dr. Chris Matheny, who's the president of Fox Valley Tech.
Morning, everyone. Good to be with you here this morning. Just because I get to follow Chancellor Levitt, how many of you have taken a class at Fox Valley Tech? Great. I'd love to see our alumni and customers in the audience. So it's really great to be with you here today. Make sure I go in the right order here. What I thought I would do today is just give you a brief overview, and then really the richness of this conversation is in the dialogue afterwards. So I'm going to go fairly quickly and try not to get a 2-minute warning. I'll be the first one here. Just want to remind you that our institution is governed by a 9-member locally appointed board of trustees. You can see our trustees there, including a few folks that you're probably familiar with there. I know Javad has been a large contributor to the chamber. He's been serving on our board for a term, and I hope that he will continue to do so. I want to just take part of my time here. I'm going to see if I can get this to work to show you a little bit about our facilities, because sitting inside a conference room doesn't really do it justice. So I'm going to see if I can get this to work. Maybe I need to come over here. Better? So really, I feel like I should just sit down after that. My whole presentation we'll get through here, but I wanted to just recap for you some of the facts that you saw there. The video you saw is made about 2 years ago, so updating a couple of numbers. Anything you saw there that was surprising? No? Good. Yes, ma'am.
50,000 people
Yeah.
impacted. I had no idea.
Yeah, so that makes us the largest higher education institution in the state of Wisconsin, bigger than UW-Madison, bigger than UW-Milwaukee. The way that we do that is through our contract training, our customized business and industry training. So anybody who is touched in one of the companies by a customized training program that we put together. We also do national criminal justice training across the nation in all 50 states and all U.S. territories on missing and exploited children and internet crimes against children. So I've got, Fox Valley Tech has employees, some of those employees you saw there, in 48 different states. So anyway, you can see some of our quick facts here. Most of them agree with what you saw in the video, but some things that we're particularly proud of. We do have a great partnership. I want to make sure, following Chancellor Levitt's discussion, we have great partnerships with both the Oshkosh School District and with UW-Oshkosh for our students to come from their high school experiences, get those dual credits that you saw, nearly 7,000 dual credit experiences for students, transfer them to our institution, and then go on and earn baccalaureate degrees at UW-Oshkosh. And by the way, Chancellor, I'm a psychology grad, so worked out all right for me. I'm doing okay with a liberal arts education. I want to share with you just a quick update on how we're doing. The question I get asked most frequently is, how's enrollment? The state of enrollment at Fox Valley Tech is good. Those numbers are a bit deceiving, though, I will tell you. We are seeing enrollment growth of about 4% year over year at this point, which is great. It is just now getting back to the pre-pandemic levels. And so we saw this trough of students exiting higher education. It is still very difficult to get them back. Most of our students are part-time. Most of our students are working full-time. And so we're really trying to create programs that allow them to stay enrolled and engaged and come to us. And you can see some of the areas of growth there that we have had. The one that I came and talked about last year that we were just launching, had just launched about this time, was the University Transfer Degree, the Associate of Arts and Associate of Science. That was a collaborative project with the University of Wisconsin system. Chancellor Levitt and his colleagues were very proactive, I would say, in coming to us and saying, hey, we would like to partner with you in offering these university transfer degrees as a pipeline to get students into UW-Oshkosh and to develop talent in our region, frankly. We've seen great growth in that. We have probably 180 or 190 students enrolled in university transfer degrees right now, and that's about a year and a half after our official launch. So if I could open up programs that would attract 200 students every year, I would do that in a heartbeat. You can see some of the other new opportunities that we have. I'll point out, I think Andy, you had oh, that's not going to do it. There we go. A couple of things. We are really seeing an increase in apprenticeship, particularly in areas in which have not traditionally been apprenticeable trades, right? And so we were just reporting to our board last night on our purpose around apprenticeship. We're looking at apprenticeships in nursing, medical assistant, and dental, and working with the state of Wisconsin to figure out alternative licensure pathways for those areas as well. We've heard up and talked about the talent shortage. Every industry that we have students in and every program that we have students in is crying and begging for talent, and so we're trying to figure out ways to help speed that pipeline. I want to share with you just a bit about our financials because I think that's interesting for you to know. We have about $120 million combined operating budget. You can see what that is made up of. This general state aid is state appropriation from the Wisconsin State Legislature. These local government fees are actually local property taxes, so that's about 20%. Students pay about 14%, and so when we're tasked to open new programs, these other two forms of aid, the largest two, probably 56%, 57% of our budget is capped, right? I can't increase my local property taxes and the state aid appropriation. Through this last biennium, the state of Wisconsin appropriated $9.2 million additional for the state technical college systems. That was the second largest increase in the last 30 years. That translates over the biennium to about $250,000 for Fox Valley Tech. So you can see that that's relatively flat, and flat budgets in state government mean declining ability to do things in an inflationary environment, right? So what we often get asked is, well, why don't you just charge students more tuition, right? Students should be able to pay for their education. Well, the state of Wisconsin WTCS board sets the tuition. So in terms of my revenue, I can't control tuition, have no ability to control state aid, and I can't levy any more property taxes. So when we try and operate like a business, it's really hard when you don't have the revenue control. So I wanted to point that out. What that means is that our current property tax payers pay about $83 per $100,000 of valuation on their residential property. That is a decrease of 25% over the last decade. Most of that has been transferred to state aid. So if you'd looked at this picture 10 years ago, it would have been just about flipped from general state aid to local government. The local government and property taxpayers would have been paying about 35–40%. I want to give you just a sense of what we do here in Oshkosh. We obviously have the S.J. Spanbauer Center, our Fab Tech Education Center, which is right along Highway 41. I'm sorry, the Fab Tech Education Center, which is right next to the Spanbauer Center, our Advanced Manufacturing Technology Center, which is right along Highway 41, and then the Oshkosh Riverside campus. You can see the programming that we offer to the Oshkosh community there, and we're, as I mentioned, growing our dual credit opportunities with Dr. Davis and his staff. Currently well over 30 offerings that we have for general education, health, IT, ag, and engineering disciplines there. And then I want to let you know about some new projects in Oshkosh. If you are driving along Waupun Road, you've noticed that there's a construction site out there. It's actually going to remain a construction site for in perpetuity. Our construction management program, which is currently housed at the S.J. Spanbauer Center, is putting up a living lab on our property on Waupun Road. That program opened about 10 years ago, has grown about 10 times in enrollment, and so we've outgrown the small indoor lab spaces that we have at the Spanbauer Center. There will be 1,000 square foot, one-story building that students will construct and deconstruct. There'll be construction trailers, so they'll be just running a continuous job site there as a way to get some of that experience that Dr. Levitt talked about that his students are getting in clinicals and externships and internships. So we're really excited about that program. It should be ready to go for this fall. Our construction folks tell me that that is on time and on budget. So. And then I want to just talk, just to let you know, as we look at future opportunities and investments in Oshkosh, we certainly see a large need for expansion in our aviation programming. The S.J. Spanbauer hosts our aviation management, A&P program, aircraft electronics programs, and they are really landlocked from a space perspective. So we've got about 12 airplanes crammed into an 8-airplane hangar. We're moving things around all the time to train pilots and aircraft mechanics. And like every other industry, we're working with those folks to make sure that we're putting enough graduates into the pipeline through those programs. You can see I've got high school academies mentioned there. My personal opinion, I don't know if this is shared by my colleagues so they can tell you if it is or isn't, but my personal opinion is we need to get more credentials into the high schools, the students' hands while they're in high school, so that they can make decisions on whether or not they want to enter that career and give them sort of penalty-free opportunities to explore careers. And so we're working with Dr. Davis and the other 28 public high schools around our district to create academies within our high schools that are offered either on our campus or in the high schools that will get students a credential when they cross the high school stage at graduation. And then we've, a number of folks, I think, Mark, you mentioned newcomers and imports, and we've talked about that. What we're seeing a large growth in the Oshkosh community is the resettlement efforts and the needs for English language training. And so we do that on our Oshkosh Riverside campus. We've added one full-time English language learning instructor. We have plans to add another depending on enrollment needs for this coming fall. And I'm getting the sign. Thank you. I was the first to do that. I'll mark that down on my resume. Thank you. I want to share some of the customized training program that we put together. We also do national criminal justice training across the nation in all 50 states and all U.S. territories on missing and exploited children and internet crimes against children. So I've got, Fox Valley Tech has employees, some of those employees you saw there, in 48 different states. So anyway, you can see some of our quick facts here. Most of them agree with what you saw in the video, but some things that we're particularly proud of. We do have a great partnership. I want to make sure, following Chancellor Levitt's discussion, we have great partnerships with both the Oshkosh School District and with UW Oshkosh for our students to come from their high school experiences, get those dual credits that you saw, nearly 7,000 dual credit experiences for students, transfer them to our institution, and then go on and earn baccalaureate degrees at UW Oshkosh. And by the way, Chancellor, I'm a psychology grad, so worked out all right for me. I'm doing okay with a liberal arts education. I want to share with you just a quick update on how we're doing. The question I get asked most frequently is, how's enrollment? The state of enrollment at Fox Valley Tech is good. Those numbers are a bit deceiving, though, I will tell you. We are seeing enrollment growth of about 4% year over year at this point, which is great. It is just now getting back to the pre-pandemic levels. And so we saw this trough of students exiting higher education. It is still very difficult to get them back. Most of our students are part-time. Most of our students are working full-time. And so we're really trying to create programs that allow them to stay enrolled and engaged and come to us. And you can see some of the areas of growth there that we have had. The one that I came and talked about last year that we were just launching, had just launched about this time, was the University Transfer Degree, the Associate of Arts and Associate of Science. That was a collaborative project with the University of Wisconsin system. Chancellor Levitt and his colleagues were very proactive, I would say, in coming to us and saying, hey, we would like to partner with you in offering these university transfer degrees as a pipeline to get students into UW Oshkosh and to develop talent in our region, frankly. We've seen great growth in that. We have probably 180 or 190 students enrolled in university transfer degrees right now, and that's about a year and a half after our official launch. So if I could open up programs that would attract 200 students every year, I would do that in a heartbeat. You can see some of the other new opportunities that we have. I'll point out, I think Andy, you had oh, that's not going to do it. There we go. A couple of things. We are really seeing an increase in apprenticeship, particularly in areas in which have not traditionally been apprenticeable trades, right? And so we were just reporting to our board last night on our purpose around apprenticeship. We're looking at apprenticeships in nursing, medical assistant, and dental, and working with the state of Wisconsin to figure out alternative licensure pathways for those areas as well. We've heard up and talked about the talent shortage. Every industry that we have students in and every program that we have students in is crying and begging for talent, and so we're trying to figure out ways to help speed that pipeline. I want to share with you just a bit about our financials because I think that's interesting for you to know. We have about $120 million combined operating budget. You can see what that is made up of. This general state aid is state appropriation from the Wisconsin State Legislature. These local government fees are actually local property taxes, so that's about 20%. Students pay about 14%, and so when we're tasked to open new programs, these other two forms of aid, the largest two, probably 56%, 57% of our budget is capped, right? I can't increase my local property taxes and the state aid appropriation. Through this last biennium, the state of Wisconsin appropriated $9.2 million additional for the state technical college systems. That was the second largest increase in the last 30 years. That translates over the biennium to about $250,000 for Fox Valley Tech. So you can see that that's relatively flat, and flat budgets in state government mean declining ability to do things in an inflationary environment, right? So what we often get asked is, well, why don't you just charge students more tuition, right? Students should be able to pay for their education. Well, the state of Wisconsin WTCS board sets the tuition, so in terms of my revenue, I can't control tuition, have no ability to control state aid, and I can't levy any more property taxes. So when we try and operate like a business, it's really hard when you don't have the revenue control. So I wanted to point that out. What that means is that our current property tax payers pay about $83 per $100,000 of valuation on their residential property. That is a decrease of 25% over the last decade. Most of that has been transferred to state aid. So if you'd looked at this picture 10 years ago, it would have been just about flipped from general state aid to local government. The local government and property taxpayers would have been paying about 35–40%. I want to give you just a sense of what we do here in Oshkosh. We obviously have the S.J. Spanbauer Center, our Fab Tech Education Center, which is right along Highway 41. I'm sorry, the Fab Tech Education Center, which is right next to the Spanbauer Center, our Advanced Manufacturing Technology Center, which is right along Highway 41, and then the Oshkosh Riverside campus. You can see the programming that we offer to the Oshkosh community there, and we're, as I mentioned, growing our dual credit opportunities with Dr. Davis and his staff. Currently well over 30 offerings that we have for general education, health, IT, ag, and engineering disciplines there. And then I want to let you know about some new projects in Oshkosh. If you are driving along Waupun Road, you've noticed that there's a construction site out there. It's actually going to remain a construction site for in perpetuity. Our construction management program, which is currently housed at the S.J. Spanbauer Center, is putting up a living lab on our property on Waupun Road. That program opened about 10 years ago, has grown about 10 times in enrollment, and so we've outgrown the small indoor lab spaces that we have at the Spanbauer Center. There will be 1,000 square foot, one-story building that students will construct and deconstruct. There'll be construction trailers, so they'll be just running a continuous job site there as a way to get some of that experience that Dr. Levitt talked about that his students are getting in clinicals and externships and internships. So we're really excited about that program. It should be ready to go for this fall. Our construction folks tell me that that is on time and on budget. So. And then I want to just talk, just to let you know, as we look at future opportunities and investments in Oshkosh, we certainly see a large need for expansion in our aviation programming. The S.J. Spanbauer hosts our aviation management, A&P program, aircraft electronics programs, and they are really landlocked from a space perspective. So we've got about 12 airplanes crammed into an 8-airplane hangar. We're moving things around all the time to train pilots and aircraft mechanics. And like every other industry, we're working with those folks to make sure that we're putting enough graduates into the pipeline through those programs. You can see I've got high school academies mentioned there. My personal opinion, I don't know if this is shared by my colleagues so they can tell you if it is or isn't, but my personal opinion is we need to get more credentials into the high schools, the students' hands while they're in high school, so that they can make decisions on whether or not they want to enter that career and give them sort of penalty-free opportunities to explore careers. And so we're working with Dr. Davis and the other 28 public high schools around our district to create academies within our high schools that are offered either on our campus or in the high schools that will get students a credential when they cross the high school stage at graduation. And then we've, a number of folks, I think, Mark, you mentioned newcomers and imports, and we've talked about that. What we're seeing a large growth in the Oshkosh community is the resettlement efforts and the needs for English language training. And so we do that on our Oshkosh Riverside campus. We've added one full-time English language learning instructor. We have plans to add another depending on enrollment needs for this coming fall. And I'm getting the sign. Thank you. I was the first to do that. I'll mark that down on my resume. Thank you. I want to share some of the information here in my last minute or so that Chancellor Levitt showed. I won't go through all of this, but you can see that when we survey our graduates, they're doing very well as well. They are staying in the area. And so I think what I'll say just as a plug for higher education in the area is that these two institutions, the ones that we work with and work for, are really creating value for us in this region. And that is the mission of the college, right? That's the mission of my college. I know that's the mission of Andy's college as well. And so we're really happy to be able to do that both in the Oshkosh community and in the Fox Cities as large. So thank you for your time today. I'm happy to take any questions if you have them or save them until we have a little time on the panel. All right.
What happened with the aviation, you said it's landlocked,
Yeah.
where are you gonna expand?
That's a good question. So we've been talking with our airport partners about what that looks like on the footprint in Oshkosh. Without going into too much detail, we are statutorily restricted to doing construction of less than $1.5 million without a full public referendum. And so $1.5 million these days will bump my aviation hangar out about 4.5 feet or something like that, and maybe pay for a little pavement. And that's just the reality. So we're looking at partnerships that will help us do that. All right, thank you very much.
All right, thanks again, Chris. Obviously, we're very fortunate in Oshkosh to have two fine higher education institutions, UW Oshkosh and Fox Valley Tech. So thanks again. Would now like to move on to our K-12 partner in Oshkosh, and Dr. Brian Davis is with us today. He's the superintendent of the Oshkosh Area School District. And Brian, thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, welcome everyone, and thanks for coming today. I just want to give you an idea of a lot of things, some great work and some opportunities for improvement that we have here at the Oshkosh Area School District, and just want to build off of, again, our partnerships that we have both from our higher education institutions along with our city and county officials. So feel very fortunate to be part of the region and some great partnerships that we were able to form. So I wanted to start with just a little bit of an idea of who we are as a district, because certainly over the last 10 years our school district has evolved pretty significantly. And so here are some of the demographics that we have across the Oshkosh Area School District. So again, we're a 4K through 12th grade institution. We are enrollment-wise, we're at about 9,150 students, so 9,150 approximately. So that's down it's down about 1,000. If you were to go back 10 years, down about 1,000 students. So that's something that was projected as we did an enrollment study back in 2017. We saw that demographic shift occurring. That's happening across the state and across the country just because of less babies being born. So if you know of anybody that's in that childbearing age, we'd promote any childbearing that would happen. We prefer twins and triplets also, if we can. So want to be able to build that demographic up. But it's one of the things that's been important for us, and you'll see a little bit in our facilities planning as we're moving forward, our ability to be able to really grow into the facilities that we need in our future, because we anticipate staying around that 9,000 student mark for the foreseeable future as we're moving forward. So about 16% of our students are students with disabilities that we serve both in our public schools and in our private school partnerships. We serve the students with disabilities, whether it be speech and language or autism, a wide spectrum of student needs. Because we are a public system, we have an obligation and a moral duty to be able to do that and make sure that those students are also getting the services that they need to be successful in the community and in the workforce as we're moving forward. About 44% of our students report that they're economically disadvantaged. That's a report that they file for free and reduced lunch opportunities at the school. We think that that is pretty significantly underreported just because of some of the lunch programs that we've had from COVID moving forward. We're probably at more about 60 or 70% from economically disadvantaged based on some of the numbers and needs that we know we have at our schools. And about 6% of our students are English language learners, meaning English is their second language. We have over 60 different languages that are spoken across our system, with a recent surge of students with refugee backgrounds, so families that are coming from some very difficult situations internationally to be able to come and take refuge here in Oshkosh. So continuing to grow our diversity, which we believe is our strength, and also provide some opportunities for us for improvement as we're moving forward. You can see our racial demographic. That's also been a pretty significant shift over the last 10 years. Just over 60, well, just under 70% of our students are white students, 8% Asian, about 8% Black African American, and about 8% Hispanic Latino, and about 8% of our students report 2 or more races. So again, a very diverse place, much different than our school district was 10 or 20 years ago. Again, something that we see as an opportunity for our kids to be able to see the world through their experiences in K-12, but also provide some opportunities for growth and improvement for us as we're moving forward. Just wanted to give you a idea of our strategic plan overview. So last year we adopted a strategic plan structure with our school board, looking at 4 core areas, focusing on learning and academics, finance and operations, our safe and healthy schools, and then engagement and communication. So those are the 4 big buckets that we continue to monitor on a regular basis within our school district. Under each one of those areas, we have key performance indicators that relate to each one of those areas that are defined, give an idea of why they matter. We do an annual rating of how our performance has been on each one of those key performance indicators, and then have an opportunity for celebrations to tell our stories of the great work that's being done, and then also the opportunities for improvement strategically. What are we looking at to improve on as we're moving forward? So because we're a public institution, we're very transparent and open about what our results are and what our plans are as we're moving forward. So each one of these KPIs is reported out on at least an annual basis at our public meetings, which is available also on Oshkosh Media, so you can go back and watch that if you want to. But we have some in-depth workshops on each one of these measures and the actions and action plans that are going on across our system on each one of our 19 key performance indicators. My team was reorganized last year as an executive team to make sure that we had an executive team member at the district office that was assigned for the support and results for each one of those KPIs, so we're able to align that from an institutional standpoint. And really our focus is on developing people and processes to be able to move those measures forward. So that's really what our mantra is internally as we've aligned our system to make sure that each one of those key performance indicators is making progress as we're moving forward. So there's just a snapshot for us about what those 19 key performance indicators are. Again, we're in our second year of the strategic plan, so it certainly continues to be a work in progress, but you see the 4 core areas across the top. The rating system you can see is shown on the right-hand side here, and these are under each one of these areas. Again, we have celebrations and we have opportunities for improvement. Our equity plan that you see that's in white there, we have not had that rated yet. That'll come to the school board actually next month for its initial approval. And so we'll have a rating system for that coming this next month. But I just wanted to give you an idea of just the variety that we have as far as our monitoring of our system and what we're focused on as we're moving forward. And again, have a dashboard of results for us to make sure that we're publicly accountable for the work and the bottom line results that are going on for our system. We want to talk a little bit about our celebrations. So really proud of the work, again, that our system has done. Yes, we have improvements that we need to make, but we certainly have some achievements that we want to make sure that are looked at. So every year, the Department of Public Instruction puts out school report cards. And so those school report cards look at 4 different areas. They look at achievement, and that's specifically in our math and our reading results. Look at growth. So not only how many students are proficient, but how are our students doing from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, which essentially is the value that our staff is able to add to the students' experiences, both in math and in reading. As we're moving forward. Looking at some subgroups, so sub-target groups would be some of our racial subgroups and students with disabilities as a subgroup, students that are economically disadvantaged that I talked about before, and then what our on-track to graduation rate is. So if you take a culmination of all of those factors moving forward, then there's a rating score that's provided for all of the schools across the state of Wisconsin. So really proud to say that our 2 high schools here in Oshkosh are 2 of the top 3 high schools across our athletic conference. So if you take the Fox Valley Association Athletic Conference, Oshkosh North was number 1 with a 74.2, which is exceeding expectations, and Oshkosh West is 70.6 for exceeding expectations. Not that we're competitive, but we really want to squeeze Neenah out of that top number 2 spot. And so we've got a hard line for that. But we're really proud about that ranking. I think when I put this slide up there, that may surprise some people to how that shows up. Again, some of the public rhetoric around some of the concerns that we have, and we're certainly taking those seriously. But we are doing well, and this is also a shout out to all of the teachers and our staff that lead up to our high schools, because we are a 4K through 12th grade system, and these are high school results. So this is the culmination of a lot of work, decade worth of work for our students performing, and we've got an eye again on making that continuously better as we're moving forward. Another one of our celebrations is looking at our long-range facilities plan and some of the work that we've been able to accomplish. And again, thank you from a community standpoint. Thank you for your support. Back in 2020, we were able to pass a school referendum to build 2 new schools and do a lot of upgrades to some of our other schools. So again, I want to thank you for that support and know that we're good stewards of what that money is used for. So really proud to open up Vel Phillips Middle School on the old Merrill Middle School and Elementary School campus this past year. And so that opened up in September. So those are just some action shots. If you haven't been to the school yet and you're interested in taking a tour, just touch base with me. I'm happy to take you through. We have had a couple of community events. It's just a fantastic space. And you can really understand now what a modern learning environment does when we're talking about preparing students for a technical college or a 4-year experience. The spaces that we need students to experience starting in middle school are very different than most of us had in our experiences, and Vel Phillips is a really good reflection of what that is. And so really excited to not only open the school, but also to, in our perspective as we're doing our long-range facilities planning, making sure that we're modernizing our buildings, but also making sure that we're capturing the efficiencies that we need, because we're moving from a 10,000 student district to a 9,000 school district. Part of that is right sizing. So not as dramatically as the university has had to do, but in a similar vein as we're looking at our facilities, we're moving in a long range standpoint, we're moving from 20 schools down to 15 schools over about a 10-year period of time is what our projection is. So the first phase of that was Vel Phillips Middle School. So taking Merrill Middle School and Webster Middle School and combining those 2 middle schools into one school. So the efficiencies that we had from a staffing standpoint was about $609,500 of annual operating savings. And not only is it operational savings, which is going to help us, again, be more efficient from a budget standpoint, but it also helped improve our services, because when you have 2 schools and you have many services that are split between the schools, you lose time with travel time with staff between the 2 schools, and when we're able to combine staff into one school and have those resources concentrated at one place, just makes a much more efficient service model. So that's something that we found to be very effective in building relationships with our students and providing the services that they need at Vel Phillips as we're 7-8 months into that inaugural year. at Val Phillips. The last part of our Phase 1 planning, again, coming off the 2020 referendum, is our construction out at Menominee Elementary School. So this continues that theme of consolidation and modernization of our facilities. So the Menominee Elementary Blue Jays, that's like the cutest Blue Jay I've ever seen in my life. So the Blue Jays are coming on board. They'll start in September. So if you've been down on Hazel Street, down by Menominee Park, you've seen that project is going on very quickly. We've been very fortunate from a weather standpoint this winter to be on schedule, on budget for that project. So excited about that as an opportunity. And again, that'll open up in September. One of the things that we'll have this number for you next year as we look at it, but this will be an opportunity for 3 of our elementary schools to move down into 1. And so we anticipate that savings to be over $1 million in our annual savings from a staffing standpoint. So we'll have that officially for you next year as we go. So just wanted to take a look at, again, as I mentioned, Phase 1 was the completion, coming to the end, the completion of Menominee project. Phase 2 is what we're currently planning for. So as we take a look at our consolidation process, we've made some good progress, but we're only halfway done. So we have similar progress that we need to make on the west side, which includes closing Roosevelt Elementary and Perry Tippler Middle School. So we'll have more details coming out from a community standpoint of that in the fall. But that's what our projection is, along with looking at some of our co-curricular facilities that includes a performing arts center at North High School and a community rec center that will be open to the entire community. And again, more details on that to come. Since I've already got the 2-minute warning, I'll just speed things up a little bit. Also looking at Phase 3, a new West High School projected to be somewhere around April of 2029. So again, a lot of details, but just wanted to let you know that's where we are in our progression in our 4-phase facilities planning as we're moving forward. Reading achievement is our #1 opportunity for improvement. You may have seen a sign at a prominent intersection in town that we have, I think 36% of our students are proficient in language arts, which is true. I think you got to put that into context that the highest performing districts across the state are at about 50% on that test. But it's definitely an area that we're working on. So we've got some curricular resources that we're working along with the professional development. So reading is our #1 driver. We know that when kids can read, that drives confidence, that drives other skill sets, and gets them to where they're prepared to be community and college ready as we're moving forward. So our actions are, again, continuing to evolve our reading programming and our proficiency in reading. Also looking at volunteers as we're moving forward. Anybody that's interested in volunteering, please see me, because we'd love to have you reading to kids or have other opportunities to engage students in our literacy programming, and then continuing our facilities planning and community outreach. I do want to do just one final celebration. So this year we launched a podcast called Mission Keepers. It's an opportunity for us to lift up our profession. Andy had mentioned not only do we need to pay teachers a little bit more, so I'm working on that from a budget standpoint, but probably as or more importantly is the value of teachers in our community and who they are. So thanking teachers, telling their stories. So the purpose of the Mission Keeper podcast is to be able to lift up the wonderful staff members that we have across our system, teachers, custodians, paraprofessionals, and have them tell their story and how you can partner with them. So wherever you get your podcasts, Mission Keepers is available. So we encourage you to download those episodes. That's been a lot of fun for me to be able to, again, engage with our staff, lift them up, and be able to share them with you. So just wanted to do a shameless plug for Mission Keepers. So, all right, and that concludes my presentation, and happy to do any questions.
Is there any plan for East Hall Fields?
East Hall Field, not at this point. So that's been a partnership that we've had with UW Oshkosh. No, we don't have any definitive plans for East Hall Field at this point. We'll continue to see what our options are. So
they're mowing it now.
yes.
Very happy about it.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Brian. Thanks, Brian. Obviously, we partner with the Oshkosh Area School District. We have a contract with them for some programming, so we're very appreciative of that partnership. Shannon Seaman, our Education Talent Coordinator, would not be happy if I didn't mention that we're working with the school district on a senior talent track event for April 24th, right here at the Convention Center, where high school seniors will be coming in and talking with our local companies and organizations. That's high school seniors that aren't tracking onto a post-secondary education world or the military. So they're going right into the workforce. We'll have companies here with booths, that sort of thing, and meeting and talking with those students. Should be a first-time event. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, I would thank you, Brian. I'd like to introduce Ethan Hollenberger, who is Assistant to County Executive John Damel here at Winnebago County. Thanks, Ethan. Thank you.
So we're on schedule, and I'll just point out, it's because we kicked the elected official out of the room, probably. Obviously, I'm not John Damel, the county executive, but he is the chairman of the Wisconsin Counties Association Task Force on Opioid Abatement. And they've had a task force reviewing the best practices for opioid settlement funds and things like that through our trade association. He's been the chairman for now, I think this is the third year, and there has been a long scheduled summit. They do one I think twice a year, and it fell on this day. So he's there because he's chairman, but also because Winnebago County is presenting what we've been doing with opioid abatement through our diversion programs at the Orrin King Building and the new incarcerated persons program at the Winnebago County Jail. And so, as Rob mentioned, I'm Ethan Hollenberger, the assistant to the county executive. I've met many of you in the room, but not everybody. And so, while I'm not John Damel, we did dress as twins for our County Appreciation Week. There's a little bit of him, me, and then the county with our Whitman Regional Airport hats in that picture. And so, because many of you don't know me, by way of background, I grew up in Winneconne, moved to Milwaukee to attend college, and I worked right after college in the private sector. But the bulk of my experience has been government. And so I worked as a committee clerk and a district director in the state Senate, specializing in natural resources, local government, and education issues. I then worked for Washington County, where I still live, as the intergovernment affairs officer. During that time, the county actually changed form of governments from an appointed official equal to Mark to an elected official equal to John. Then I left. They would do that to work for the state superintendent candidate, and the candidate I lost for that day, or worked for, lost. And so the day after the election, John and I met for the first time, and I was encouraged by the county executive in Washington County and others at the Counties Association to work in the county I grew up in. And so, as a product of Winnebago County, I know this county is a special place. And so, John and I have also taken pride in getting to know elected officials and administration across the country. And so last week when Rob and Tom were in our office, Rob asked that I dress in Mark Roloff formal and not John Damel formal. And so, while I forgot my tie at home, I did remember my jacket, which is actually a jacket I had to purchase last minute to attend the El Paso County, Texas State of the County in 2022. And so we're 3 years into John's term, and I can proudly say that the county is a great place, especially through some of the actions he and the county board have taken over the past few years. And I was happy that Rob told me I have as much time as the State of the Union. But in reality, 15 minutes really isn't enough time to discuss all of our achievements in the last year. But I'll start with the boring stuff. I want to point out some facts on the property taxes. For the first time in about 20 years since the advent of levy limits, Winnebago County is not taxing to the max for operational needs. We're about undertaxed on our levy limit worksheet by about 2% or $350,000. John had proposed in the 2022 budget to be about $1 million undertaxed, and the county board voted to not do that. But due to this undertax and slower than average growth of the tax levy and a lot of growth in the equalized value, Winnebago County's tax rate has been reduced by $1.11 since John got elected. For an average home, this is about $150,000 to $250 savings, not thousand, $250. This doubles the reduction in the tax rate in the same prior 4 years. The levy has also increased by about $2.4 million, which is about half of the 4 years prior. And the money has been entirely spent on public safety. In fact, more than the growth of the levy has been sent on the sheriff's office alone, $3.8 million. The other 1.4 came from the shared revenue that was passed by the legislature this year. And so if John were the typical politician, he would take credit for the strong fiscal health of the county, but in reality, he wanted to make sure that the department heads received the credit, because each of the last two budgets, so 23 and this year 24, they have had flat levy targets. So we have requested each of our departments to not increase their levy year over year for the past two budgets, and that has allowed the strong investment in public safety. Now that the boring stuff is over, what have we actually been working on? And so in 2023 was the year to actually focus on county employees. In 2023, the county board passed John's proposals for a new compensation plan, merit pay plan, and paid time off plan. The last compensation plan in 2016 was largely unfunded. This caused long-term employees with 15, 20, even 30 years of experience to be paid at or near the same rate as new employees. Somebody who was with the county for 30 years was being paid just a little bit more than a brand new employee out of college. The so-called in-range compression was causing employee retention issues. Our pay plan raised the pay grades to better align with market rates, but more importantly, what we did is we reslotted employees across the pay ranges with experience in their positions accounted for. That plan cost the county $2.9 million. As I pointed out, we've only raised taxes in John's term 2.4. So it was largely funded by other efficiencies. In one example, we had a 30-year employee at the midpoint of her range. If you've all done employments, midpoint is roughly the market rate for an employee. She was been with the county in the same position for 30 years, and she was stuck just below the midpoint. She's now near the top of her range, and she was provided a significant raise and moved across the range. After the compensation plan itself, which is how much we pay employees, we had to fix our merit plan, so how people move across the range. We actually allowed in the 2016 plan employees to slide backwards. So what would happen is when grades were adjusted for market conditions or commonly cost of living adjustments, if their so-called merit raise wasn't more than that number, they slid backwards. So they didn't get cost of living, they only got a small merit page. And depending on where they were in their career, it could have been 0.5%, 1%, or less. So they were moving backwards. Under the new policy passed by the county board, employees receive a market adjustment across the board, the cost of living. We don't call it cost of living because CPI is too high. And to move across the range, though, they have to be on target with their goals and their employee evaluation. They have to attend and be on target for their professional development, and they have to be proficient in the requirements of their job and the job description. There are more requirements for a merit increase than there was before. However, we will actually provide enough retention benefit to employees, and more importantly to the taxpayers, to have solid employees providing the services you expect. Lastly, based on the study that the chamber was involved in, actually, and other comparisons, the county moved to a merged PTO plan. We took vacation and sick time, took those separate buckets and we put them into a paid time off bucket, which allows employees the dignity to control their time off in a way that allows better work-life balance. Among other bureaucratic and old contract union issues, PTO has allowed employees a better benefit, but more importantly, a better benefit compared to HR best practices and HR organizations. We compared ourselves to Oshkosh Corp. We used the slides and the recommendations from a study the chamber was involved in. And when we talk about employees, they very much appreciate to be in control of their destiny. As John would say, they don't have to lie to us about being sick to take a day off for March Madness. We also talk about employees. When John became county executive, the total budget countywide for employee appreciation was $1,400. The county only honored employees at 20 years of employment and if they officially retired in the pension system. We changed that completely. Remember I said we had merit pay based completely almost on professional development. We now have leadership development and employee appreciation budget of about $100,000, which is still smaller than comparable sized counties and definitely comparable sized organizations. I would also mention I also need to mention our investment in employee well-being. On Monday, Winnebago County lost our 5th active employee to passing since John took office unexpectedly. We are working with our national association to provide mental health first aid eventually building capacity for trainings across the county. We had about 700 employees in November go through mental health first aid in the first countywide training that we know of in at least 30 years. So in 2022 and again in 2023, Winnebago County used that money to host our first county family nights. This year, an employee came up to me and said that this was her first year with the county and her first time attending such an event. And we were proud to say that she said our appreciation event was way better where she used to work, which was Washington County, where I came from. So we're proud of that, and we tell the county executive there that all the time. At these events, we raised over $5,000 for our area United Ways. The first year we did pie the department head in the face, so that's our Atlanta water director. He'll be here this afternoon. We did pin the mustache on the John Damel. We did that this year again. The department heads did a hula hoop competition this year, and then we had bounce houses there. What we saw was employees who knew each other from church, PTO, kids' sports teams, other prior life experience. They finally figured out that they were part of the 1,100 person organization known as the county. We had people who work in different parts of the county had no idea that each other worked for the county or which department. We also have been providing employee networking at herd games, the county fair, and we continue to bolster this need for constant collaboration and communication amongst our employees. Right now, employees are competing in a Just for Fun March Madness bracket. And so it should be no shock to the room that it's important to John that we significantly invest and reinvest in our community as a corporate social responsibility effort. The county employees have participated in parades, fall festivals, trick-or-treats. Today we're sponsoring this event because it's county fair themed, and more than half of our departments are going to participate in the expo across the hall. One participated last year. And so we have sponsored herd nights. I promised Steve I would talk about the herd today. Particularly Go Green, and if you see the jersey, that's actually Lake Poygan and the Wolf River on the front. The Wolf River in Winneconne is kind of where the Players is, and so it's North Butamore and South Lake Winneconne. We provided, so that was Go Green Night, and then we did Marvel Night for the second year to promote literacy with a comic book and a reading program. And as I said in the game broadcast at halftime on Saturday, there are few, if any, counties our size in the country with a professional sports team that has major league players getting action more than a rehab stint. So we do have Brewers who play in Appleton, but they're there for a game. The herd and the arena are important to the quality of life of our county. Through the county board, I should talk about ARPA funds a little bit. Our spirit funds, which were created from surplus from COVID relief monies, have gone to community projects, half of them. We have nearly 60 projects across the county, and we have purchased fire trucks, radios, street improvement, park improvement, other infrastructure, nonprofit infrastructure. 10% of the funds will be going to land and water conservation. If you didn't know, Winnebago County is 25% covered in water, and this investment will help ensure a valuable water resource for tourism for many years. The first funded and approved project out of the Spirit Funds was the Amro Area Community Center, which had been shuttered and looking for a new location since the end of 2022. John has encouraged our departments, as you'll see today in the expo, to get out and meet citizens where they are. With this investment, we can again deploy services to Amro. In recent years, President Biden has signed legislation which improves veterans' benefits. This has caused a huge increase in the workload for our Veterans Services Department, and we found dozens of unserved veterans in Amro and Winneconne, but in Amro with the shuttered community setting where we're no longer able to do that service. And so today we're announcing that we have created and launched a dashboard so the public can see where the money is being spent. To my knowledge, we are the first government in Winnebago County to have such a detailed dashboard. And the next challenge for these funds is developing a strong plan for the use on county government projects. We've got $10 million in available funds, which will be used to reduce levy and borrowing. Earlier this year, Winnebago County announced a new partnership with GoEDC to finally deploy unused funds for economic development in a revolving loan fund, and it reforms a broken system created in the 1970s. The expectation is for GoEDC to ensure the funding is utilized across the country. Like all other local governments, we have elections coming up next month, and the entire Winnebago County Board is up for re-election. It is especially rewarding to see so many candidates boast about the achievements that County Executive Damel has implemented. At the start of the next term, Winnebago County will be launching our first meeting agenda and packet software. Following the county, and our agendas will be easier with automated subscriptions and packets. And operationally, we estimate an opportunity cost savings of about $20,000 to $40,000 with the software. You will see this launch April 9th or so, and this is kind of what the packet public portal will look like. Investing in technology will save the county human resources capital. In 2024, John has set the expectation to improve our technology offerings to staff, and we have several projects planned which will save staff time and prevent the need to hire more staff. And so as I wrap up and leave time for questions, a year ago, Winnebago County did not have a social media page for a whole of government or a LinkedIn page. They are now launched, and we're investing in a platform to improve our citizen engagement, which we're going to launch in the coming weeks. Please take a time to like us on Facebook or LinkedIn so that you can stay up to date on what's happening, and that helps us stay in touch with you. And lastly, I'll just say it is really, truly an honor to serve the county in which I grew up. Thank you.